Okay. Let me just close out the chat. All right. So this is Yin Yoga. My name is Caroline Farrell, the big fluffy cat who just left. Her name is Sophia, and the little gray cat who you might see hiding under the chair, her name is Chloe. I expect them both to make appearances tonight. So for those of you who are new to Yin Yoga, in this practice, we hold poses for 3 to 5 minutes at a time. And these long holds are designed to get deep into the connective tissue of the body. In order to do that, we want to limit our muscular engagement, especially in the areas of the body that we're targeting. So there may be some poses where we need to use our arms to keep ourselves lifted, but if the focus of the pose is in the hips and not the arms, we want to think about relaxing there completely. That will make a lot more sense as we go into the postures. But before we do that, we're just going to center with an opening meditation. If you have a blanket or a bolster, you're welcome to take that. You can also use a block, and we're just going to use that to slightly elevate the seat, helping to bring the knees at least level with the hips, if not lower. And I'll invite you just to notice your habitual cross of your legs and maybe switch that cross. Most of us always cross the legs the exact same way. So let's just cultivate the opposite here. Switch the cross of the legs. Then go ahead, allow the hands to ground down on the knees. If you're looking to open up and maybe be in a state for receiving, it might feel good to place the palms face up. Wherever you are, let the shoulders be heavy, let the elbows be heavy, and go ahead and close the eyes. As you start to turn inward, I invite you to become a little bit more aware of your breath, feeling the expansiveness of your inhales without controlling the breath. Notice the way the body gets a little softer as it contracts on the exhale. Inhale, feeling the spine lengthening. Exhale, let everything get softer. Becoming a little bit more deliberate with the breath here. Let's think about breathing in through the nose, maybe pausing at the top of the exhale, holding the breath in the body, and then slowly, gently let that breath go. As soon as you reach the bottom of your exhale, take the next breath in. Again, maybe you hold the breath in the body, and then exhale, slowly let the breath go. Without pausing at the bottom of your exhale, taking the next breath in, allow your exhale to last longer than your inhale, helping to ground the body, ground your energy here. Keep this pattern of breath going. As you breathe in, think about breathing into the heart space, into the low ribs, feeling a sensation of fullness in the body. And then just be gentle, be easy with the exhale. As you fill up, we're not forcing the breath, it's a gentle expansion. Just be intentional about filling up all chambers of the torso. Releasing gently. I'll invite you to visualize the space around the heart in both the front of the body and in the back of the body. As you breathe in, visualize your heart space expanding in all dimensions, in all directions. And as you exhale, allow the space around your heart to get even softer. Taking 3 more breaths just like this. As you breathe, I'll give you a preview of where we're headed. Tonight, our sequence is based around the spleen and stomach meridians. In traditional Chinese medicine, these meridians are associated with the element of earth, and that element is the element associated with the late summer, where we currently are, this time of harvest. So the meridians will be activating today. They run up the front of the thighs, up the front of the torso. So we're both going to be stretching and compressing this area of the body. In more physical terms, we're really working into the hip flexors and the low back. Oh, the cats are jumping on the stand for the computer. This is going to be interesting. When you're ready, bring your hands to meet in front of your heart. Maybe you have an intention or a dedication you'd like to set for your practice this evening, consistent with this time of year, late summer, the harvest. If you don't have an intention coming to you, I'll offer you the intention of nourishment. May this practice be nourishing for you. Holding that intention or your intention in your heart space. Let's take 1 more breath in through the nose together, holding the breath at the top of the inhale for a brief pause. And then exhale, sigh the breath out through the mouth. Let the hands come down. So our first posture this evening is a wide-legged child's pose with a twist. So compression along the front of the hip flexors, and the twist is going to help to stimulate the stomach and the stomach meridian, the anatomical stomach and the energetic lines. So when you're ready to come into this posture, I'll invite you to start in a tabletop shape. No props are needed. Open the knees at least as wide as the mat. Start to sit your hips back to your heels. And then you're just going to come down like you were coming into your child's pose, but start by coming to the forearms. As you arrive on the forearms, thread your left arm under the body as far as it will go so that your shoulder, cheek, and ear come down to the mat. And then reach the right arm around behind. Maybe you place it on the sacrum, or maybe you reach even further for the left hip crease, like you were trying to place your hand in your left pocket, in the front pocket of your jeans on the left side. And then just allow yourself to melt into the shape. Let the hips melt back. Let the left ear be heavy on the mat. Coming back to your breath, easy inhales, gentle, sweet exhales. As you reach the bottom of your breath, try not to pause for too long between your out breath and your in breath. It's a gentle emptying out, followed by an equally gentle filling up. Allow your right shoulder to work away from the ear. And feel that gentle opening in the front side of the right shoulder. So in Yin Yoga, we come into these postures that create a decent amount of sensation. Here you're likely feeling sensation in the hips, maybe in the low back, possibly even in the shoulders. And the magic of the practice, the work of the practice, they're both found by just finding stillness and holding stillness in the face of this sensation. As you breathe here, I invite you to stay aware of the mind. If you notice the mind wandering, if you notice yourself lost in thought, come back to the breath. Start by observing the way the breath interacts with the body. And if you still notice the mind wandering, maybe you add a count to the breath. You're welcome to count the length of each inhale and the length of each exhale, or you can just simply count each breath in and each breath out. So you'd count 1 for the inhale, 1 for that exhale. Then the next breath, you'd count 2, 2 for that exhale, so on and so forth. We're here for about 8 more breaths. Allow the body to be heavy, allowing the hips to open up, feeling that sensation of compression in the front sides of the hips. Stay with that sensation. We've got about 4 to 5 more breaths here. You probably have a couple more breaths, but when you're ready to come out of this, you're going to come just out of the twist, staying in that wide-legged child's pose. And then you're going to thread the other arm under. So right arm threads under, bringing shoulder, cheek, and ear to the mat. Left arm's going to come around behind you. Work the left shoulder away from the ear. Left hand can rest on the sacrum, or hand can come to the hip crease on the right side. Allow yourself to settle in when you get into your shape. And then bring your attention back to the breath, starting by noticing the interaction between the breath and the body. And if you need to hone your attention even more, maybe you start counting the length of your inhale and the length of your exhales, or maybe you just simply count each breath. We've got about 8 more breaths here. Let these breaths be both long and easy. Feel the breath expanding the rib cage, left to right, front to back. Use the breath to help you stay here, especially if the sensation in the hips is starting to increase. Keep your attention on the breath. Just a few more breaths here. When you're ready to come out of this shape, you'll unwind, come back to the forearms, keep the weight in the forearms as much as possible. You're going to come onto your belly to rebound. So legs lengthen behind you, straighten out the legs. You can stack the palms one on top of the other and just place the forehead on top of those stacked palms. Let yourself be still here. Let the breath get a little bigger. Inhale a little more completely. Feel the bottom of the rib cage widening in all directions. And with each exhale, let the body get a little heavier. Really relax through the glutes. Let the front side of the pelvis open up. In between our yin poses, we typically rest in stillness in a neutral position for about a minute. So this is our rebound right here. Let this feel nourishing. Let your body be soft. Taking a few more breaths. And then, my friends, you're going to be in perfect position for our next pose. We're coming into Sphinx. We're not going to hold it too long. And you're going to come into this posture by reaching back through the legs even more. Then soften through the glutes. And then come up onto your forearms. You want your elbows more or less underneath your shoulders. Maybe they're like a 0.5 centimeter forward of the shoulders, so closer to the top of your mat. And then this is the pose. We're going to keep it super gentle for right now. We've got a mild compression in the low back. The front of the spine is extended. Shoulders are soft and head can be heavy here. In this shape, you may notice your ability to take even deeper inhales. Allow your inhales to become more full without making them more forced. Maybe you hold your breath for a few counts at the top of each breath in. And then just gently let that breath go. Deep breath in, and maybe you hold it in. And then a gentle release. Let's take 3 more breaths just like this, keeping everything nice and easy. Then I'll invite you to come back down to the belly. Start by just gently rocking the hips side to side with the legs straight. And after a few rocks, it might feel good to bend the knees and windshield wiper the legs side to side that way. And then we'll go ahead and press the hips back to the heels. This time, knees are together, just to create a little length in the low back where we just had that compression. We'll spend a few breaths here, and we'll start setting up for our next posture. Send your breath down your spine as you breathe in, create space in the middle and low back. And then, friends, when you're ready, let's come up to up to tabletop. So hips are over the knees, shoulders are over the wrists. And then we're going to come into a lunge shape for dragon pose. So you may need to tent your fingers, step your right foot up to the inside of your right hand. Feel free to slide that foot up. Knee is roughly over the ankle. Knee can go slightly forward of the ankle if you want a little more stretch in that right Achilles and calf. And then start to reach the left leg back as far as it's comfortable to take that back. You're looking to feel a nice stretch down the front side of the left hip into the left quad, perhaps. If that back knee feels heavy on your mat and you'd like to pad the knee, you can roll your mat in, or if you have a blanket, pad the knee that way. Options for the upper body. You can keep hands on the mat. Arms are active. Everything else is passive, especially in and around the pelvis. You want to let the pelvis come forward to give you a nice deep stretch in the left hip flexor. Maybe you come down to your forearms. We're going to hold this for a few minutes. So if it's going to be too intense down on the forearms, keep in mind that I'm going to ask you to hold it. A third option, you could just take a little twist, bringing right hand up to right hip and open, right hand up to right thigh, and then just opening your chest towards the right. Head can be heavy, shoulders are soft. Other than the arms and some activation in your right leg, everything else is passive. Coming back to the breath, feel free to close the eyes. Feel the nourishment of each inhale as you let the breath go. Allow yourself to get a little softer and surrender a little more fully into this pose. Stay with the breath. Maintain the stillness. Use your breath techniques if the mind is starting to wander. Count the breaths, count the length of the inhale and the length of the exhale, or simply just feel the way the breaths interact with the body here. Eight more breaths, friends. You've got this. You've probably got at least a few, if not a handful, of breaths left. But just so you know the exit when you're ready, you're going to try to press into the hands to press yourself back. Walk the hands back to help you. You'll bring the right leg back. Right knee meets left. Melt back into that child's pose. Knees together to touch. Spine is rounded. Shoulders are soft and heavy. We're going to rebound there. After that big opening through the left hip flexor, we're going to rest with that hip closed tightly. Really nice, everyone. And when you're ready, maybe you want to spend a few more breaths in that sweet child's pose. But when you're ready, you can come back up to tabletop. It might feel good to take a cat and a cow. Maybe do each of those a few times. And then as you're ready, your left foot will come up, bringing the right leg slightly back for dragon pose on the other side. Again, you get to decide if arms stay straight, if you come down to the forearm, or if you take that twist. Go for whatever makes you feel like you're getting appropriate length in the front side of the right hip. Not necessarily the most length, because that may be hard to hold for the few minutes that we'll be here. As you arrive in your shape, resolve to hold in stillness. Tap into the breath to help you. Let the pelvis be heavy. Allow gravity to help you open up through the front side of the right hip, the right quadricep. We'll be here for about 8 more breaths. You make your last handful of breaths in this posture even easier than your breath for the first couple minutes. Starting to think about your exit. You may have a few more breaths, but when you're ready to exit, you're going to press in through the hands, pressing yourself back to child's pose. In child's pose, allow everything be heavy in child's pose. Sorry about that. I meant to mute a participant and I think I muted myself for a second. Let yourself rest. And then maybe you come up through tabletop, take a couple cat-cows, and then I'm going to show you the setup for the next posture. So we're going to come into full saddle, major openings through the front of the pelvis and thighs. So I like to build a ski jump, what I call a ski jump, with my props. Let me show you why, and then I'll give you some prop alternatives. So for this posture, knees can be as wide as you need them to be, but you're gonna back your seat up so like your sacrum is gonna come up against the end of the bolster, and you're gonna let your seat come in between the heels. So maybe this is your posture, or maybe you start to come back. Some of you may come right back down to the floor, no problem. Others may say, this is pretty intense and this is where I'm gonna hold it. As your body starts to soften, as the pelvis starts to lower down, you'll probably be able to come a little bit further back. And for those of you who don't wanna come all the way back, this nice angled ski jump, as I call it, is gonna be super helpful for you. So I'm sure not everyone has a blanket, a bolster, and a block, but you can build this using a textbook. So I've got a constitutional law textbook that's probably 12 years old. Textbook, pillow, and maybe you even sort of roll the pillow at the top or place the blanket, anything to create that ramp effect. And then when you're ready, again, knees will go as wide as you need them to go. You can roll your calf muscles out to help your hamstrings and thighs to come to the insides of those calves. And then as you're ready, you'll start to come back. Again, it may be intense and you may want to stay upright the whole time. So I'm going to set a timer for this. This is a fairly long hold. And I'm just going to invite you to try to stay with it, ease into it. And I want to make sure that I'm not keeping us in here too long. There you go. All right. Oh, and the cat has jumped up to where I have the computer. There we go. All right, friends. This is a posture where working with the breath is really important. This can kick up, for me, it kicks up a lot of agitation and frustration, but it can kick up a lot. So use your breath, use your long exhales to keep you grounded. Maybe you ask yourself, how does this practice of staying in stillness, despite all of this sensation, help me off the mat? Another way to think about that question is, are there places in your life where you start to get triggered and then you react when the best course of action would be not acting or pausing, sleeping on it before reacting? Let this be training for that circumstance. And let your breath be the tool that helps you to get through this training. Let's keep the inhales big but easy and unforced. And for these last handful of exhales, feel free to sigh them out through the mouth. Let it go. So we're gonna start to think about coming out of this posture, but we're not quite ready to come out just yet. When you are ready to come out, you're gonna press into your hands, try to take as much weight out of the legs as possible. And as you really push up onto your hands, you can then shift your weight to one side, send both legs out in front of you. And then I'm just going to invite you to move any props off your mat and come onto your back like you were lying in Shavasana, but take the arms overhead wide. So arms are extended and wide, legs are extended and wide. And you'll be rebounding in pentacle here. All right, the timer just went off. So for those of you who are still in your posture, start to make your way out. Try not to use your legs. Try not to put any more weight in your legs. Use the strength of your arms to help get you out here. As you make your way into that pentacle shape, as you settle into that pentacle shape, try to relax your glutes, let everything be heavy, and just let the mat support you. Take a few more breaths in stillness. And then I'm going to invite you, staying on the back, bend the knees, take the knees nice and wide, and just start to windshield wiper the legs side to side. And then you'll roll all the way onto one side, coming into fetal position. And then you'll bring yourself all the way up. So heading into the end of our practice, not quite the end, but coming towards the home stretch, I'm going to invite you to take the legs as wide as they'll go. If your low back is tight, if your hips are tight, another great place to use the blanket. Just make sure that the blanket is not lumpy, that whatever you're sitting on is not causing one hip to become higher or lower than the other. And you can just sit right on the edge of the blanket so the pelvis just tips slightly forward. If you thought about your pelvis as a bowl, the bowl is pouring out just a tiny bit in front of you. So take those feet nice and wide. Maybe they can even go wider. You can keep a soft bend in the knees, especially if your hamstrings feel really tight. Or if you have like towels or other blankets, you can roll them up and place them under the knees to keep that soft bend in the knees. This is just occurring to me now, but maybe you can even like roll up your mat a little. Cushion the backs of the knees just slightly that way. That looks sort of ridiculous, but it actually does the trick. But anyway, feet are as wide as they'll go, and you're gonna hinge forward. Totally cool to let the head be heavy and just floating in space. But you can use your block, you can use a pillow or your bolster to support the head. We just opened up the entire front side of the body, and especially the front side of the hips. We're now looking to find some compression there. This is another fairly long hold. So again, I'll invite you to find stillness, to resolve, to remain still, to stay connected with the breath, and just to hang out here. Easy inhales, easier exhales. Let your shoulders be heavy here. Can you relax through your jaw a little bit more? Check in with the hands. Notice, are the hands nice and relaxed, or are you holding on with the hands? Soften through the hands if you can. You're more than halfway through. Stay with it. Coming into our last minute. Let's see if we can slow the breath down just a little bit more, lengthening the breath out as this at the same time for about 5 more breaths here. Just like in our other postures, when you're ready to come out, you may still have a few more breaths. Really press into your hands. Use the strength of your arms to lift you up. Open the mat back up if it was closed. Slide off the blanket if you were on one. And again, let's just windshield wiper the legs here. Oh. And then when you're ready, you'll make your way onto your back. Our final postures before Shavasana. You can use your hands to walk yourself down. Start just by lengthening everything out, taking that pentacle shape again. Let yourself rest in stillness. And then when you're ready, gather the knees into the chest, rock side to side on the low back a few times. And then press the knees into the hands while the hands are still pulling the knees into the chest. Keep pressing the knees forward and then use the hands to circle the knees around, giving yourself a nice sacral massage here. The more the knees press forward into the hands, the more pressure you'll have for this gentle massage. When you're ready, you can take these circles in the other direction. And then we'll close out with just a nice, easy spine twist. So it can be as simple as just dropping the knees to one side, sending your gaze over the other shoulder. Should you want to take it deeper, you can wrap the top leg around the bottom leg, almost like you were coming into eagle legs, and find your twist this way. It doesn't matter which side you start with, we'll just switch everything in just a couple minutes. Think about breathing into the belly and really widening the ribs away from each other as you breathe here. Let's take 5 more good breaths here. Make them feel nourishing. Let your body receive the breath and then soften as you let go of the breath. And then when you're ready to come out of this, use your hands to help bring the knees back to center. if you took those eagle legs, if you cross the knees, switch the cross, and then make your way into your twist on the other side. Work on expanding the breath with ease here. Deep breaths into the belly. Feel the rib cage widen out in all directions. And then as you exhale, you just let yourself surrender even deeper to your twist. Taking a few more breaths. Easy, expansive breaths here. Let the body receive these breaths. Sweet, gentle exhales to let the breaths go. And then when you're ready, you can unwind. Maybe you hug knees into chest and rock side to side on the back one more time. Maybe you split the knees for a brief happy baby. Any final movements you need to make before making your way into your final relaxation. Most likely you'll find that by coming onto the back, taking arms long, palms face up, legs long, toes splaying apart. But if you'd like to take your final relaxation on your belly or in child's pose or in fetal position, anything you need to find that deep relaxation, you do you. And as you make your way into your final shape this evening, find the stillness, find the softness of your body, and then just let the breath be easy. Can you let the breath move through you the way it does when you sleep without any effort on your part? let's begin to come back into the body, starting by reconnecting with the breath. Maybe you deepen the breath here. Feel the rise of the belly, the fall of the belly as you breathe in and out. Then let's add some gentle movement into the body, maybe by wiggling fingers and toes or rolling ankles and wrists. And then maybe you reach arms overhead and reach legs long in the opposite direction for a nice full body stretch. As you're ready, start to make your way into fetal position on whichever side of the body feels more inviting in this moment. Allow the bottom arm to cradle the head. The hand of the top arm just rests gently in front of you. Allow yourself to pause, feel supported. Feel at ease here. And then keeping the eyes closed and the torso nice and heavy, start to press into the top hand. Bring yourself up to a comfortable cross-legged seat. Finishing just like we started. Hands are on knees, palms can be down or up. Elbows are heavy. Shoulders are soft away from the ears. Eyes are closed. Check back in with the body. Noticing how the body is feeling, the physical body, the energetic body. Noticing the quality of the mind. Bringing hands to meet in front of the heart. If you set an intention at the beginning of your practice, I invite you to acknowledge that. If you'd like to set an intention for the rest of your night, maybe a quality of being that you'd like to embody, or even if you'd like to set an intention for the rest of your week, I invite you to take a moment to do that here. And then holding that and all that you desire gently in your heart. We'll close out by taking a deep breath in together through the nose. And then gently sigh it out, exhale. In gratitude to this practice, to the nourishment it provides, and to everyone we share it with. Together we bow. Namaste. Thank you, guys. If you have any questions, I will stick around. Feel free to drop questions into the chat or come off mute. Otherwise, I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alice and Elisa.